Happy late fertility February, y'all. I'm having a little bit of hair of the dog this afternoon as I record this video, finally. I'll get into why this is quite late here in a minute. But welcome to Fertility February 2020, now that we're about 2/3 of the way through February. I apologize for that. Things in February have been kind of insane. February down here in Chile is the time that most people have off work for summer vacation. It's been incredibly hot and dry, and we've just been busy with family engagements, birthday parties, getting our US taxes filed, because now we have to pay or figure out how we're going to pay taxes for what we owe to Chile. It's just been crazy, but some really good developments. I finally got my visa after standing in line for 3 hours yesterday, so yes, I can now take the following or the next steps to getting my national ID and my national ID number. Like I said, we filed our taxes yesterday too, and so it's just been busy, full of family engagements, and I've been trying to make progress on my dissertation, so that's why I've had to put this off. So I apologize for that. I know there are several people out there who follow me regularly who look forward to Fertility February every year, and I'll include up here in the corner the link to the Fertility February playlist on my channel, so you can check out some of last year's and then 2018's content that I made. There's some really important videos. A few of them I'm going to mention after I give my little preamble. I'll mention a few particularly important videos that I would highly recommend if you are new to my channel, if you're new to fertility awareness. If it's something you've never heard before, I'll get into a few specific videos that I'll recommend here in a second. But yeah, I guess let me just do the preamble. So every year I make an introduction video for that year's Fertility February video series, and every year I make a point to be very explicit and clear about the fact that I am not a medical professional in any way, shape, or form, and I am not a fertility awareness coach in any way, shape, or form. I'm just a rando on the internet sharing my experiences using the fertility awareness method, and I use this book specifically to teach myself the method because I was looking for other options out there for preventing unwanted pregnancy, non-hormonal birth control options. And the fertility awareness method just was perfect for me, and so I think I use my platform, and I use the month of February more or less every year to just use my platform to get the word out there so that people can just know that this option exists, because there's not enough information out there. Well, maybe if you know where to look, you can find a lot of information. I mean, obviously this book is chock full of information, really in depth, and it's a really great way to teach yourself the method. I'll include the link, the Amazon link, to purchase your own copy of this book. But I've bought this book through Amazon, but I've also bought it through Barnes & Noble. So if you live in the US, those are two options for buying it, and it's somewhere between $20 and $25 US. So it's incredibly affordable considering the amount of information you get and the fact that you can teach yourself a reliable, if used correctly, a reliable method of preventing pregnancy. It's a method to achieve pregnancy or maximize your chances of getting pregnant if that's what you want to do. But it's also a method to just get to know your cycles and your body. And so I use it personally to prevent unwanted pregnancy, but also to kind of track my health and make sure that I'm eating well, that I'm sleeping well, that things are all hunky-dory, this is an incredible method to use for that if you're concerned with some health issues that you're going through. So, like I said, I am in no way, shape, or form a medical specialist. I'm not a fertility awareness coach. I don't teach this method, and actually I make a point in my videos to not talk about the specific rules and kind of guidelines for using the method to prevent pregnancy. I kind of keep that vague because I really want to encourage you, if you're interested in learning more about this method, to do the research for yourself, to read the books for yourself, to kind of take this on for yourself, because I think it would be incredibly irresponsible for me to kind of, whether it's wittingly or unwittingly, give the impression that this is a quick and easy method. I mean, if you take the time and give yourself enough time to practice it, it's not that difficult, it's not that intimidating, not as intimidating as it might come across at the beginning, but it still requires dedication, responsible decision making, communication, lots of communication with your partner or partners, especially if your partner, the combination of your partner's equipment and your equipment could result in an unwanted pregnancy. Lots of communication needs to happen there. It just requires responsible, open communication and decision making and an open mind and dedication, and that's not for everybody. For some people, this is the right way to go. I know it was for me. And I've made videos in the past about why I decided to go off hormonal birth control, so I'll include that video down below where I go more into depth about that. But basically, the last experience, I've only ever been on hormonal birth control for a total of about 2.5 years in my early to mid 20s, and so I actually don't have that much experience with it, but the little bit of experience I had, especially at the end, I just felt miserable, and I had a lot of bad side effects, and I just was desperate to find another option, which I did, and it's been working beautifully. My partner and I, we have successfully prevented pregnancy since I started the method in June 2017. So we're going on 3 years now without a single pregnancy scare, without a single one. So for those of you who have followed Fertility February in the past, you know that I usually do a giveaway every year, and I give away a copy of this book. Unfortunately, because I live in South America now, it's a little bit harder for me to get my hands on a copy or to order copies and have it shipped to different parts of the world. It's just too expensive and too complicated for my life situation right now. So there won't be a giveaway, but I really do encourage you, if you think that you might be interested in this method, this would be the first resource that I would recommend to everybody to pick up a copy of and read through, especially the chapters and the parts in the appendix that are pertinent for you in your particular situation. This is really the first great place to start. I know there are other books about the Fertility Awareness Method or other books about menstruation and your period and like fixing your period or whatever, but I would really start here because it is so informative, and there are lots of example charts. There are pictures of the different types of cervical mucus or fluid to look out for, as a sign of, ovulation that's approaching. All sorts of stuff, all sorts of cool stuff in this book. So start here, and the great thing is, like I mentioned earlier, it's very affordable, like $20-25 US. Unfortunately, I have yet to find a copy of it translated into any other language besides English. And I don't know if you live outside of the US, I don't know how accessible this is. But if you live in the US, I know for sure you can get this on Amazon and Barnes & Noble, so I really, really recommend this. So unfortunately, I won't be able to do a giveaway this year, and I probably won't be able to do a giveaway until I move back to the US. If I do, most likely I will. But I still want to keep Fertility February going precisely to get the word out and to let people know that this is a viable option if for whatever reason, whether it's medical reasons or just personal health concerns, if you're looking for a non-hormonal alternative to hormonal birth control, this is a viable option. And I made a video, I think my first year in 2018, that I'm going to link below in the description box as well, which is really important. If this is all new to you, or if you're just vaguely familiar with what I'm talking about, I highly recommend checking this video out. I basically go through some of the basic general myths about what fertility awareness is, and spoiler alert, but the number one myth, according to me, in my opinion, is the idea that the fertility awareness method is somehow the same as the legendary rhythm method, which it is not. It is not. The idea behind the rhythm method is that the rhythm method is just kind of guesstimation and projecting onto the future, like kind of guesstimating and thinking about around what days in your cycle that you're fertile. The fertility awareness method is not that. It is not a predictive method. It is a day-by-day gathering evidence kind of method, because there are three main signs of fertility to look out for in your menstrual cycle. One is a change in cervical fluid, and this is actually the most important sign of fertility. Number two is a change in your basal body temperature, the temperature that you take in the morning. And number three is kind of optional. I don't do this, but other people do when they're checking to see if they're in their fertile zone. The height and kind of texture of the cervix changes. And so you can internally kind of check for that. And so just based on day by day, especially for the first half of your cycle until ovulation happens, you're just keeping tabs on yourself, just checking for these signs, and then the signs your body tells you if you're approaching ovulation. Then you can look at a change in temperature on your chart if you do charting, like I do. I have my big binder of charts here, right? And this is my current chart. And I'll share I'll go more into detail about sharing one of my charts later on in this year's Fertility February. I always do that every year, is sharing one of my charts. But you can look and see when a temperature shift might have happened and how that's a sign that ovulation happened. And then you can wait a specific number of days, assuming that your temperature stays higher. And, you know, following the rules that are outlined in this book, you can then freely have sex with your partner or partners, especially if your partner could potentially impregnate you. Have sex freely and not have to worry about unplanned or unwanted pregnancy, right? So this year I was thinking about what the themes could be to kind of give focus and a direction to this year's videos. And so back in January on my Instagram and on my YouTube community tab, I put a poll out there so people could vote or give their input as to what type of content they would like to see for Fertility February 2020. And there was an overwhelming interest in sexuality, liberation, and queerness, which was kind of the direction I was already feeling like going into anyway. And so I'm really, really excited about this year's videos. After this video, the next video that you're going to see is going to be my coming out story, because I officially, at the ripe old age of 32, I came out as bisexual, and so I want to go more in depth and tell that story and give it justice. but also kind of connect that to a more general pattern in my life recently, at least, of focusing more on pleasure and sexual liberation and the role that pleasure has in liberation, and owning my own little bit of queerness and why I felt for so long that I didn't have a right to do that, and why I stayed in the closet for as long as I did. So that's the next video I'm going to be making. And then I want to make a video, I'm not sure how I'm going to title it, but I basically want to make a video about maybe queering how we talk about fertility awareness, because if you kind of scour and search on the internet and Google Fertility Awareness Method or look up Fertility Awareness Method videos on YouTube, the majority of the videos that I've seen and the majority of the resources I've listened to and read online are all incredibly heteronormative and cis-normative. There's barely any mention of non-binary people. It's just the content creator just assumes that you're a cisgendered woman and that you're in a heterosexual relationship. And so I kind of want to poke at that and maybe just introduce the idea of queering how we talk about fertility awareness, because this is one of the myths that I break down in that video that I suggested, that I'm linking down in the description box below. This method is not just for cis straight people in monogamous relationships looking to get pregnant. You know, I don't ever want to get pregnant, or at least never say never, but I'm fairly set on the idea of being child-free, at least for a while, if not forever. So I don't use this method to TTC, to conceive, right? I use it to avoid pregnancy. And, you know, cisgendered women are not the only people who menstruate. And so I just want to kind of, I'm not going to present, I don't want to present this video as me answering all the questions. It's more like just kind of getting the conversation going, or giving the conversation a place on the internet to take place more explicitly. And then, of course, I'm going to share one of my more recent charts and just kind of give you an idea of what charting looks like and what my experience charting has been like for the past 2.5, going on 3 years. And then I want to do a book review, and this is a book I've had on my Kindle for over a year. I want to review Adrienne Maree Brown's Pleasure Activism, and I'll include the Amazon link if you want to read up on the reviews on Amazon about this book, because it's specifically about, you know, how do we approach and think about pleasure, and how can pleasure and prioritizing pleasure in our life be an avenue towards liberation, which is such an interesting concept or idea. I'm only a quarter of the way through the book, and so I'll definitely go into more detail for the review. And now that I think of it, I think I'm going to add one more video to this year's series. I want to talk more openly about menstruation and shame, kind of framing that around just me telling my story about my menarche, my first ever menstruation, and why I felt so much shame, and how I think maybe there's some hope for the future when it comes to just how much shame is still wrapped into menstruation, just talking more openly about periods, about bleeding, about shedding your uterine lining. I think that needs more space on my channel, so I think I'm going to end the series with that video this year. So yeah, I'm going to be using the hashtag Fertility February and hashtag Fertility February 2020 on my Instagram and also here on my channel. So feel free to use those hashtags if you want to create your own content talking about the Fertility Awareness Method, or talking about your ideas surrounding hormonal birth control and We're talking about your own experiences with your sexuality, with pleasure, with your queerness. Feel free to comment below with your ideas. Let me know what you're excited about hearing this year, and if you have any other video ideas that I should kind of make note of and make at a later date. Maybe even I don't have to wait till next year to talk about this topic, So let me know what you would like to hear more about. And yeah, welcome to Fertility February 2020. I hope to see you soon. And until next time, many blessings. Bye.